protection and for the fact when I run into nice, interesting people, I can go ahead and share ideas and information. And this is how we learn, right? That's why you're in the business of journalism, so you can inform people, so we can, come about a dialogue and hopefully learn to live with one another. So you work for what newspaper?
It's called El País.
El País, and where is it located at?
It's in Spain. I'm based in DC, in Washington DC.
And primarily your readership is all over Spain, or is it?
Well, it's in Spanish-speaking countries, so in Spain and Latin America, basically.
What's the number of readers you figure?
It's the largest newspaper in Spanish worldwide.
Oh, got a lot of people.
So I don't know how
now,
many.
I like this side. Let me take a picture
Quite
of
a few,
them.
yeah.
Republican, Democrat, this.
What can I answer?
Well, basically, could I take some notes?
Sure.
So I can. It's a curious spot that you have with all the signs.
So I could get away with this in Spain? Could I do this in Spain? Make fun of the government there?
I think you could, but it's not as common as here, where you have a. Yeah, it's not as common, but you could, yeah. But here you have a pretty, here like freedom of expression is such a sacred.
Isn't Spain going through some transitions now too? Aren't there portions of Spain that get ready to sort of break apart?
Well, it's from Barcelona and the region there, Catalonia. There's been since 2012 an ongoing debate on secession, and that's still there. It doesn't really, it's not moving no one way or the other. So half of the community wants to leave and the other one doesn't, but they're asking for a referendum, but it's possibly not going to take place.
Has Spain been affected by the influx of immigration like the other European?
Less by the refugee crisis. Less, in part because Spain has been in big economic trouble in the past years. Not so much now, but it's not such.
So they have nothing to offer the people.
Well, and it doesn't have very welcoming refugee policies, while Germany and the Nordic countries are very generous in welfare state for refugees. So.
I think it's probably a good thing.
Also, it's far away. It's less on the. Spain had a huge problem at the beginning of the 2000s with immigration from Morocco by boats, but that's pretty controlled now. A pretty, a lot of policemen looking after it, so that's why.
Well, I think that's a good thing because I see a lot of when I'm in cities, I talk to some Germans earlier, French today, Spain and Navy. And it seems like they have a consensus there. It seems to be split. Like there are some people say it's fine, bring in the immigrants, and they're always completely opposed to it. See it changing Europe irreparably.
Yeah, it's a hard balance because Europe has been always a generous continent, and when you have your sort of moral standard, when you have a huge amount of people coming to your continent, you cannot close your borders, but at the same time. Yeah, some people see it that you're losing your identity by accepting so many people, and then you're having trouble now in Germany with some refugees. So I think it's a difficult balance because
I delve a lot into this geopolitical, see what's going on. I see this as a concerted effort among certain leaders of the Western civilization, the civilized nation, to actually go ahead and bring in a one-world government by bringing down Western civilization.
Okay.
With an influx of illegal immigrants or refugees, overwhelming their welfare systems, and collapsing those countries from the inside. Because basically they're too strong to, conquer it.
Sure.
Allowing, therefore, chaos to reign. And then allowing globalists to coming in with their globalist army to formulate a one-world government. Basically, do away with sovereign nations. I see that plan in action. I see that this is what Merkel and other leaders have made, they've gone in contract with the devil, with people in the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah.
You familiar with the Bilderberg Group?
No.
Well, the Bilderberg Group...
Do you mind if I take some notes?
No, please do. I want you to do this, look into this as a journalist. The Bilderberg Group is approximately 120, give or take a few, of the top Western leaders in the world.
Okay.
Heads of conglomerates, corporations, media mongrels, that meet in secret once a year for 4 days in different locations around the world every 4 years in North America. These are the real movers and shakers.
Okay.
Give you an example, like in 2008, when both Clinton and Obama were running against one another, they both disappeared for 4 days at the same time. Nobody could figure out what they were. They were at the Bilderberg Group that was taking place close to Washington.
Okay.
It was there that they were told, you're going to be president, and you're going to be president later on with that burger shot. So I would highly recommend you look into the Bilderberg Group. They have been exposed. We do know what they do now. We've forced them to release their lists and their agenda of who's attending. They don't totally tell us their agenda. Of course, they don't, even though you find CBS and ABC and all the major conglomerate media moguls attending Bilderberg, they never report on it.
Okay.
So it's always the messages given to them give to us.
Okay.
These people are in league to destroy Western civilizations to form a one world government.
Okay.
So I highly recommend it.
Sure, have a look. So can I ask you a bit about you? Like, what's your name? How do you end up here? If you can ask me a bit of if you could tell me a bit of your story. What makes you sell these posters and so on? So I know it was like 5 questions in one, but so your name, if that's fine.
I often wonder about all that myself. I mean, basically, I was a political satirical cartoonist for a newspaper here called the Wall of Athletic. We don't hold anything back.
Okay, what's your name? Sorry.
Michael DeBerry.
Michael DeBerry.
And
And your age? That's fine.
69.
69. Okay. So you were a cartoonist.
Yes.
Okay.
And I started thinking of other novel ways I could go ahead and try to raise people's consciousnesses and get them to talk.
Sure.
And the streets are where most revolutions are fought. You don't control the streets. You don't control anything. So I'm bringing my artwork out to these streets to create dialogue. So different people from around the world.
Sure.
And talk.
Sure.
And we can hopefully find common ground. And I find that most people are waking up thanks to things like the internet. And of course, if you're ready to take that back and control that Soviet or China style free information, flow of information. So we have to find other novel ways to get the information out. So I do my artwork, I get the computer back here, I can show clips, I can show other alternative news that would not normally be seen on established news sites, like yours.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about the Bilderberg Group, but should. Or the fact that 9/11's an inside job, but is never being reported about. So these are the things that we know as individuals, people, just lay people know.
Sure.
And yet it's strange that I talk to journalists from major news networks that still push the corporate line that 19 hijackers brought down the Twin Towers, which we know is a lie. It's bullshit. It's a fantasy. That the Boston bombing was a false flag. And most of the...
Who did it?
Who did it? Well, in any crime, you look at who benefits. If you're looking at 9/11, you would say, who benefited? Who benefited from 9/11? It wasn't the Muslims, it wasn't the American people. Who benefited? The military-industrial complex and the national security state of it. So that's part of the build-up to the worldwide police state, the technotronic state. I mean, they're putting in new lampposts here with what? Cameras in them. So they can record conversations that people have.
Recording what?
But in this case, it goes straight to the NSA. All the other, the grids, the technotronic electronic grids is the new whole thing in right now. Up by the NSA. Donald Trump said, when I asked Donald Trump, do you use the internet a lot? He goes, no, I figure anything that's electronic can be tapped into. So when I want to do private communication, I do the old-fashioned way. Handcuffed to a suitcase to a man that's going to deliver.
So how long have you been having these spots?
4 years.
4 years. So you come with your bike and you stay here.
I go different places.
Okay.
Probably 90% of the time.
You're here. Okay. Do you? How do you choose your posters? Some of them seem to me that are be critical with Mr. Obama and a bit praiseful with Mr. Trump. Is that a good assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I just do what I feel.
So how do you feel on Mr. Obama and on Mr. Trump?
Well, again, I'm looking at this, the globalist against the nationalist. Trump is an anomaly. He wasn't supposed to be in this race.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Bush and Clinton. We were supposed to just yawn and look the other way and pay no attention. And then the globalists go about their business of destroying us. This man at least has a knowledge to know that that's what the globalists are trying to do. And he wants to bring us back to a more nationalist point of view. Get rid of these phony trade agreements that take away our ability to control our own economy, or our ability to speak freely. And these things are being taken away from us. At least he wants to stop that.
Sure.
So, now, is he the best candidate we can hope for? Probably not. But at least it's a step in the right direction. It's not the continual downslide to this worldwide domination of a few elites. Now, basically want to eliminate most of the life on this planet because they've had enough of this. Now that we have the advent of things like robots, computers, machines, more and more people are being put out of work. What do you do with all these unemployed people? The elites have only kept us around this long because they needed slave labor. They don't need slave labor anymore. So they're going to poison us with GMO foods. We're looking at Bayer just bought up Monsanto for $66 billion. Well, Bayer is the same company that was caught selling tainted AIDS viruses to children. Do you think they really give a crap about us?
So what are your main fears when you're saying they want to get? You said, how did you say it? They want to end our world. Is that how you said it?
No, they want to end. They want to end life on this planet. They want to start killing us. They want to reduce the population of this world by 97% minimum. You look at the Georgia Guidestones.
Who's them?
Again, the Bilderberg, the elites.
Okay.
The elites of this world, the ones that have controlled things for several thousand years.
Why do you think they want to eliminate 97% of?
Because they don't need us anymore.
But you know, what sort of? Do you think that? What kind of proofs do you?
They write about it. You can read about it in books that have been written. I mean, Carol Quigley's Tragedy and Hope. Carol Quigley, Professor Carol Quigley is Bill Clinton's mentor, who wrote the book Tragedy and Hope, who was allowed into the Illuminati's library for 2.5 years, and then wrote a book called Tragedy and Hope on their plans for world dominance. In there, we have a, you agree, right? Yes, there's Holdren, who is our science czar. We got czars. Who is our science head, right? Wrote a book in 1980 called Eco Science. In that book, he calls for the elimination of 80% of the world's population. This is our current science arm. They want us dead. They want you dead, me dead, this young lady dead. They want us all dead because they don't need us anymore.
What for?
Here's a question.
They don't need us anymore. When you don't need people, become you. Henry Kissinger called us the useless food eaters. He said we need to get rid. This is Henry Kissinger, his words. We need to get rid of the useless food eaters.
That's where we have a seed vault in Wyoming, Nebraska, something like that. You have a seed vault. You should not need seed vaults. Plus, you're eliminating all concepts of fertilization, such as bees and those types of insects on a regular basis. Why would you need a seed vault if nature?
What do you call it?
A seed vault. A vault
Seed
for
vault.
seeds.
You got them in Antarctica.
There you go. Yeah, you have a vault, look it up, where they store the seeds, like for tomatoes, right? Why would you need that if your world has been for gazillion years reproducing on its own.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why would you need that?
Now, they're giving us
That's only to keep a
genetically
certain population
modified
alive.
seeds that we have to go back to the we get this. The plants don't grow their own seeds. We have to go back to the company to get them. Yet they're keeping the
The original.
heirloom seeds for themselves.
Yep.
So when they wipe us out by feeding us food that does not make us nutritious,
That kills
not
us.
nutritious, but kills us and gives us cancer. Because to kill off this many people, you gotta be pretty clever. So you give them poison.
And you've been experimenting with the Nile virus, what was it, the
The
pig
Zika.
swine, Zika. Now, every year there's a new name. It's called experimentation. These are elements of nature that are not natural. One mosquito does not kill another. How does that possibly happen? They talked about it on the news. You have to pay attention to the news all over the world. One mosquito does not kill each other. Like we don't normally kill each other. And insects and stuff don't normally kill each other. But the Zika is an experiment.
This young man works for the top Spanish newspaper in the world.
Do some research. Now, you will be challenged. You got to put your life on
He'll get fired. He just
There's a lot
lost
of
his
us that
job.
know
You
about
bring
it.
up this stuff at your office,
careful.
and they'll say, "I'm sorry, you can't report
can't
on that."
report.
They will not let you
Governments,
report
all
on
form
it. You'll
of
lose your
governments.
job.
Yeah, all form of governments know it.
And what I was asking you about, you're critical of Mr. Obama.
Yeah.
What don't you like about him?
He's part of this globalist takeover. He's a CIA made out of right out of the CIA. His father-in-law was a top CIA agent. The man is playing all sides. He's a complete phony.
And don't forget Kissinger put him up there. That's
Yeah.
why he hasn't been killed. He placed by Kissinger from when he was in college. He placed him there. He needed Africa's backup. And he was one of the reasons.
How do you get a Democrat being a protege of Kissinger who's a neocon Republican? Because they're all in cahoots. The whole thing with, pardon me, but what your newspaper is telling us is a bunch of lies.
And beyond the Obama, part of the system and all that, is there something of his presidency in particular that you don't like? Something that...
It'd be easier for me to answer. Give me something that no, I don't like anything he's done.
It's just government in general.
Is there a particular thing that you don't like?
Well, Obamacare would be the biggest thing. That's really destroyed this economy.
In what sense?
It's socialized medicine. That's great. The non-compliant. God bless you, honey.
I know about it. It's true.
Where are you from?
Actually, I live in Georgia and I read The White Horse. That's a publication that's underground. So it talked about the change of the money and talked about all that. So a lot of things that it forecasted already has happened.
You get a get out of jail free card from Hillary Clinton. God bless you.
Bless you. Bye.
The point is socialized medicine. You take over countries, and there's several ways you can do that. Right? You can do it militarily, but that's kind of hard and messy. Best way to do it is through education, taking over their food supply, which they've done now with with the Monsanto-laced foods and the GMO-laced foods, and taking over the medical care. You take over, you get the food and the medicine, you pretty much got the people. That's it. So when they start telling us that forced vaccinations, well, baby, you come at me with a needle, you better have a gun in your hand too. Because that's a sure way for them to go ahead and inject us whatever they want, cancers, anything. And that's what they want. You gotta remember, the prime directive now is to kill us.
So you're pretty, let's say, you're pretty concerned on anything related with the government.
Yeah.
Correct, right?
Yeah, the ones at the top now have been completely sold out for decades. We're going back to Kennedy. Listen to the speech that got Kennedy killed.
Okay.
Where he talks about the shadow government. He names them. He calls them the shadow government, a government that is beyond all other governments, a government that has their own army, that is never held accountable for their wrongs. That shadow government is what killed him. 2 months later, they blew his head off, and he was exposing them. That shadow government is what that book's talking about right there. That shadow government runs your government. That shadow government is run out of Rome, England, and New York.
And when you're saying Trump is not your ideal choice, but you know, is the one that you have, which one was your ideal choice, if you could choose, of the candidates
Ron Paul would have been the best, or his son, Rand Paul.
for being libertarian?
Yeah, well, they're closest to the Constitution.
Do you consider yourself a libertarian?
Not anymore, not since Gary Johnson pissed all over him, you know, just turned it into a joke. But at one time I identified, but I try to stay away from labels altogether.
Okay.
Because labels themselves are used to divide us and to categorize us.
Sure.
So I would like to see it eventually evolve to the point where we can get rid of politicians altogether. Because we already have the technological means now to govern ourselves. The only reason we needed politicians in the past was because time and space was always a problem.
Sure, sure.
We have instant communication. We don't need politicians anymore. We can govern ourselves.
So wait a minute.
My name is Michael DeBarry, a.k.a. Uncle Sandola. And yes, I plan to vote in November. It's an obligation. It is a privilege. It is our right, and it's something every American should do, even though it's a corrupted system. We still got to stand up. We have to use every tool and every weapon we can to defeat the globalists who are trying to take over this country.
Who do you plan to vote for?
The one that's trying to defeat the globalists. That'd be Donald Trump.
Yeah.